Today we'll study configuring storage, and in terms of lab, if you have Windows 10 machines, you can use your Windows 10 machines to do all these labs. Okay. And today we don't need servers, but next week when you need again, then I'll provide you access so you can use that servers as well. Cool. So today we're going to look at configuring storage. So this sections we're going to look at overview of storage options, managing local storage, maintaining disk and volumes, managing storage space. So these topics we're going to look at. Yeah. So these topics we're going to look at: storage options, local storage, disk and volumes, managing storage space. Okay. So these topics we're going to look at now. Now, first topics overview of storage options. So, we're going to look at local storage options, network and cloud storage options, OneDrive and OneDrive for Business, enabling OneDrive. All these topics we're going to look at in details. The storage options, we have a local hard disk, SSD or hard disk drives. So any computers, let's say you have your laptop. So do you know your laptop, you have what kind of disk, whether it's SSD? SSD stands for solid state drive. This is called solid state drive, or SSD. And hard disk drive, this is called HDD. Okay. So solid state drive or SSD is new versions. SSD is very fast. These days, majority of our disk space is SSD. But if you have a hard disk drive is traditional. They have a read-write head. It's a bit slow. Compared to these days, whatever we're doing, SSD is faster. But compared to that, if you have a traditional hard disk, it will be very slow. SSD is costly, and HDD is cheaper than SSD. And now, how to check what kind of disk we have? If you want to look at the storage, we have some options. If I go to my start menu, settings, and system, after that go to storage. See, I can see in C drive I have 476 GB. This is my storage informations. But if I want to look at more details, how much space I have, I can right click on this corner. I can go to disk management, right? If I go to disk management, I can see how many disks I have. So this is the total 476 GB disk space I have, right? I have only one disk. And how do you know whether it's SSD or HDD? So those things we need to find out, because when you do troubleshoot, then on that time we need to find out. How to find out that? We can go to system informations, click here, system informations, you go to hardware resources, components, storage, see the storage, disk drive, standard disk drive, 512 GB, part of that, but it's not saying directly what kind of disk it is, right? But you know that if you want to know more details about the disk, you can get the information, especially the model number. There's a multiple way you can get this information, but this is one of the details areas. It has a details informations. But we have another options. If I go to task manager, so right click on here. If I go to task manager, if I go to performance and see the open resource monitoring, if I go over there, disk, there's a one options in here. Let me check whether, oh here, sorry. If I close this one, I don't have to go there. If I go to performance, I can see that SSD. See SSD? You can see from there, this is a solid state drive. So if it is a SSD, then it's good. But if it is a HDD, you'll be able to see from here as well. Okay. So when you looking at these stuffs, please take a note as well. Like note taking is a good options, very good thing. If you quickly take a note, later on you can, by looking at your notes, you'll be able to recall that what you have looked at. But if you just looked at the things, you'll forget because there's a sequential information. So note taking is a good thing. Another options we have, right? So next time if I ask how to check SSD or HDD, so you should be able to say like this is the way we can check. There's another options. If I go to start menu, if I say PowerShell, so PowerShell is similar to command prompt. This is another window we have. I'll just open the PowerShell. There's a one command we can apply. Say get dash physical get dash physical disk. Okay, this is the command. PowerShell is very user friendly. Get means you want to know something, and physical disk, that means you want to know some physical disk informations. Hit enter. It will tell you what kind of disk you have. See, is media type is SSD. That's what you're looking for. If it is not SSD, if it is HDD, it would show you here as well. Okay. So get dash physical disk. That is the command. Now another thing we have called virtual hard disk. What is a virtual hard disk? Virtual hard disk is actually we can create virtually from physical disk. Without physical disk, you cannot create virtual hard disk. What it means, for example, what is our today's notes? Wow, today I did more stuffs. Let's say we have a physical disk. I have a physical disk here. This is 10 gig or let's say 100 gig, 100 GB disk. Okay, and from this disk we have another technology. With that technology we can create virtual disk. For example, from physical machines you can create some virtual machines. Same like from physical disk we can create virtual disk. For example, I want to create some virtual disk. Virtual disk for management purposes, it's important. I can create like 2 GB virtual disk or 5 GB virtual disk or 10 GB virtual disk. So that kind of advantage we have. And especially if you create any virtual machines, for example, if I go to my Windows or Zahid PC one, this one, right click. If I go to settings, I'm just looking at these virtual machines. It has a virtual hard disk, see .vhdx. If I want to see the locations, this is the locations. Okay, I can browse that locations as well. and you can see this is the virtual hard disk. So this virtual hard disk, with that we can create virtual machines. We can store something over there, and if we do not need, we can delete that one as well. It will not have any impact in your physical machines. And virtual machines advantage is, let's say you want to allocate 20 GB for some task. So it will not take 20 GB straight away. Okay, it will take at needed basis. So this kind of advantage we have with virtual disk. Virtual disk is not like every day we need when you do some particular things, it's required on that time. That's the advantages. It has two kind of file format: .vsd, .vsdx. .vsd, up to 2 terabyte partitions you'll be able to create, but if it is a .vsdx, you can create up to 64 terabyte of partitions. So Windows default system is .vsdx file. And server based storage, we using file servers. NAS is a network attached storage. Network attached storage, this is called NAS. And SAN is storage area network. Okay, so usually we have file servers. File servers is any in the company, usually we have a file servers. In the file servers there are many files actually we store, and file servers we need some space. Maybe we need 1 terabyte, 2 terabyte, 3 terabyte, depends on your company requirements. So file servers, we need storage. Another thing called network attached storage, NAS. So in the market there are many NAS servers they sell. NAS is like a small servers. You can have up to 10 terabyte, I think 20 terabyte NAS device as well. It's simply like a storage, like a external hard disk. It's same like a external hard disk, but it has some other operating systems. It has redundancy. It has a backup. So it got many other features. So what is a NAS? It's pretty similar to um, it is pretty similar to external hard disk. I'll show you one of the NAS. I have one NAS with me currently. I'll show you one second. This is doing many experiment. For that purposes, we need these stuffs. Yeah, this is one of the NAS servers, and it has couple of disks in here. This is a small box. See, small box. This is name is QNAP. So we provide these stuffs for the customers. For example, small business, for them, it's like it looks like a CPU, but it's small. So they are important. Many small business, they're using this kind of NAS servers. So we provide this kind of solutions to our customers. So we need this NAS device, and they're very popular. For example, in the company you want to put some backup, so you need a NAS servers. So this is NAS servers is like a small box. And SAN is storage area network. SAN is kind of like it's broader environment, like in enterprise network or in data centers environment, we using this storage area network. Storage area network means there are in the company, let's say you have a server rack like that, right? Over there, then maybe in the rack you may have many different kind of servers. So they are all storage, huge storage. For example, you using Facebook or Google, many types, OneDrive, Google Drive, and many other stuffs you using. So All of your files, photo, everything is actually going some sort of backup or storage. That is called storage area network. But at the end of the day, they have a different name, but at the end of the day, all of them is kind of like a disk, hard disk. Now, network and cloud storage. This is just an example. NAS device. You have a local area network connections. This is your file servers, and in your network you have a NAS servers, right? And in the enterprise network, you have a couple of servers, and those servers, they are connected with switch, and switch is connected with all these disk. That means if you save something, these servers will process those things. After that, all the files and things will go and store over there. For example, your all Facebook all over the world, like I think billions of people using the Facebook. So Facebook or all this, internet medium, all the file actually stored somewhere. So this is kind of like a SAN environment. We call storage area network. All the stuffs stored over there. Now, when you have a disk, we have a two type of disk format, MBR and GPT. By default, all the disk when you do format, it came as MBR. MBR stands for Master Boot Record. MBR disk contains the partitions table for the disk and a small amount of executable code called the master boot record. Master boot code is on the first sectors of the hard disk and is created when a disk is partitioned, maximum 4 partitions of 2 terabyte each. So if you have a MBR file format, which is our default Windows file format, we can have up to 4 partitions. Each partitions we can have 2 terabyte of space. Another one, we have GPT. GPT is a GUID partitions table. This is another kind of disk format types. It contains an array of partitions entries describing the start and end line of business applications of each partitions on a disk. So support up to 128 partitions and theoretical 18 exabyte size. This is too big, like they're just saying that if you need more partitions, you can use GPT. Okay. Now GPT is reliable. It's a new kind of file formats, and it supports boot disk on 64-bit Windows operating systems and UEFI systems. So MBR is traditional, but GPT is modern, disk options, disk partitions options you can do. So if you have a basic Windows systems come with a certain file format, you don't have to do anything. You don't need to make any changes. But when you connect a new device, and if you want to configure this new device, that time it will give you options whether you want to configure as MBR or GPT. Then if you want, you can select GPT. What is the major difference? MBR support smaller partitions, GPT support large partitions. That is the difference in between two. Now another thing we have called dynamic disk. So we have a basic disk and dynamic disk. How to check this one? If I right click on this corner, we can go to disk management. See, this is called basic disk. Basic disk. By default, when you go to disk and if a disk is provisioned, they are actually basic disk. A basic disk, you can create up to 4 partitions. But if you need to create more volumes, like volume A, volume B, volume C, like that, if you create many volume, then you can have dynamic disk. And when you have a dynamic disk, it provides you some multiple options like spanned, striped, mirrored, like some of the stuffs you'll be able to do. But major things with the dynamic disk, you'll be able to create up to 1024 volumes. You can convert from basic to dynamic without data loss. It requires all volumes to be deleted when converting to basic disk. Can be managed by using diskpart or disk management. There are no Windows PowerShell commands for managing dynamic disk. So why we need dynamic disk? With that, you can create more partitions. That is the major advantage. And disk management tools, this is we have looked at quite a few times, right? With the disk management tools, this is a graphical user interface. You can manage disk and volumes, both basic and dynamic, locally or remote computers, simple partitions creations. And diskpart is a scriptable command line tools. Create scripts to automate disk related tasks, always runs locally. Windows PowerShell has native disk management commands, can be used to script disk related tasks. So this is command line tools, and this is Windows PowerShell. With that, you can do certain command you'll be able to execute. This is our disk management tools. Now let's have a look this volume types. You have a simple volume that encompasses available free space from a single, basic or dynamic hard disk. So this is a basic, simple hard disk. Like by default, all the hard disk partitions will be simple. And this is unallocated space. That means we haven't configured these partitions. Can be extended if contiguous space is free on the same disk. Contiguous means whatever available and next to it, that is contiguous. Then you can extend these partitions. And one second, sorry. That's fine. Sorry. So this is the partitions. If extending into non-contiguous space, the disk will be converted to dynamic if it is a basic disk. One non-contiguous means if it is not adjacent and if you want to configure. So during that time, you will have your disk will be convert from basic to dynamic. We're going to see all of this system, so not to worry. Now, what is a mirrored, spanned, and striped volumes? Joins areas of unallocated space on disk into a single logical disk. Mirrored disk means disk space is allocated once and used simultaneously. Right? Disk space is allocated once and used simultaneously. Such as disk 2 and disk 3, we have seen that we have a mirror disk. Mirror disk means in two disks you have the same thing. So if one disk not working, another disk will work. That is called mirror disk. Then spanned, disk space is added and used sequentially. So spanned means this is spanned. After that, in another disk, when you use this one, then after that you can you know, it's kind of like expanded to different disk. So you have more space over there and over there as well. And what is the stripe? Disk space is allocated once and used equally across every physical disk. That means you create here striped, striped, striped. So is allocated once and used equally across every disk in the stripe set. So it kind of like a same kind of space you'll be able to create in multiple disk. Many different scenario you may need this stuff, but from here mirror disk is important because mirror disk is kind of like a backup. If one disk is down, another disk like useful. So it has many different options, but mirrored disk is important one. Managing existing volumes. Resize a volume to create additional unallocated space to use for data or apps on a new window, new volume. So shrink simple and expand dynamic disk to extend a volume to on the same disk. Extend a simple volume to include unallocated space on other disk on the same computer. Before shrinking, defragment the disk. Ensure that the volume you want to shrink does not contain any page files. Page files is kind of like a temporary files. Sometimes virtual machines or like a actual computers, they use the page file as like temporary memory. So we're going to look at all these things. We're going to practically looked at as well. Now maintaining disk and volumes. Maintaining disk and volumes. Part of this one, we're going to look at monitoring storage space, disk defragmentations, file and folder compressions, and disk quotas. So monitoring storage space presents an overview of storage used by drive, which is internal, external, OneDrive. We'll be able to see all these drives, 13 different categories including system, apps, music, and pictures. We'll be able to see in details. So in Windows 10, this is a really good features. You'll be able to see the details informations about your storage. It enables you to choose the drive to which you want to save new files such as apps, music, documents, videos, pictures. Storage Sense can automatically free up this space. Right? So all these things is very important. Now, what is disk defragmentations? So before we looked at, let's have a look some of the stuffs what we can do. So if you want to manage the disk, right click on this one, then you'll go to disk management. New features, remember I'll do one of the step recorders. In this way you can see these steps. This is new steps. Now I will right click on this corner. We'll go to disk management. Okay. In my disk management, I have some extra space, but mine one is BitLocker or encrypted. If I right click in here, shrink volume. Okay, I'll do better with my virtual machines. Okay, let's start. minimize this one. Okay, let's have a look. Let's say I have my C drive and I right click on C drive. I can do shrink volume. Shrink volume means whatever available space I have, it will shrink all of them and display to us. So it's now shrinking. Okay, so it may take a bit of time, maybe a couple of minutes, and then it will tell how many extra space you have, how many free space you have. So it's saying that I have this much of space. So what I'll do, I say I want to create only 2000. 2000 means 2000 MB means 2 gig. Okay, shrink. So it's actually shrinking that space. Look at that. This is my 2 GB space I got now is unallocated. If it is unallocated, now I right click on this one. I can create new simple volume. New simple volume. Click next. Next. And I can have a name for it. D drive, that's fine for me. And click next. And file system is NTFS, that's good. Volume level, I can put, this is my data volume. Okay, I name it data and it will perform a quick format. Click next and finish. See, now I got like data. I cancel this one, this is not required. See, that's how you create a volume. Sometimes you need to create the volume, and this is the way we can create the volume. Now let's say now I don't want this volume, so I can right click on this volume, select and right click, delete volume. Say, are you sure you want to continue? Say yes. Say you will lose the data. Say yes, that's fine. Now again it's becoming unallocated. And with my C drive, this is like a contiguous space and this is unallocated. So if you'd like to extend my disk, I can right click on C drive. I can extend my volume. If you have any extra space or unallocated space adjacent with your drive, then you'll be able to extend your volume. So I want to extend, click next. I want to extend this 2 GB, click next and finish. See, now I have added those 2 GB with my C drive. So that's how you can create partitions. You can name it, and if you do not want that partitions, you can delete it. But remember, if you delete any partitions, you lose all those data. So that things you need to be careful. So that's one of the steps. With that you can create this shrinking and extending, this kind of things you'll be able to do. Now in our systems we'll be able to create virtual hard disk as well. For example, I have only one disk, but I'd like to have one more disk. So I can say create virtual disk, locations. I can say browse. I can go to D drive. I don't have any file name in D drive. New folder. Name it VHD. So I'm going to select this folder, click open. Okay, I say disk 2. That is the name of my disk. Click save. So this is my name and this is the locations. I want to create 5 GB, 5000 MB. I want to have VHDX format. And dynamic means it will not take all my space, it will take at needed basis. And click OK. Look at that, now I have another disk, right? But this is a virtual disk. Now this is arrow down, that means is not up, so I'll right click and say initialize disk. And that's where you'll find the options whether you want MBR or GPT. So we can say this is GPT and click OK. Now they're ready. And this is my new unallocated virtual hard disk. I can right click, new simple volume, click next, 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 name it, this is my disk 2, finish. So this is my disk 2, right? See, virtually I have created another hard disk. So this is the advanced features these days. We have many different purposes you can use those disk space. Like previously you must have to have another disk, but now you have a one disk, but you can create multiple disk in this way, right? Same thing, if I want to create another disk, process is same. Create VSD, browse, and select the folder. Or under that VSD, that's fine. Disk 3, I'm creating another disk. VSDX, save, and 5000 MB VSDX dynamic. I have created another one. This is the advantage we have. Right click, initial disk, name it GPT, that's fine. Right click, new simple volume, next, 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 name it disk 3. Finish. So now I got couple of extra disks I have created. So this is the new and very good features we have. And if I'd like to see those disks in my file explorer, I go to my file explorer, click this PC. See, this is this PC. Now look at that. I have C drive, my disk 2, my disk 3. And they are same like a normal disk. I can use this disk. I can create some folders over there. I can use as per normal. Now I have like couple of extra disk. So that's how the virtual disk we can use.
So if we don't have internet, that time we can use that virtual disk.
Yes, so it doesn't have any relationships with internet. It's just like a locally sitting on the local computers.
Okay.
Cool. Now another thing we can see, if I go to here, settings options, and I can go to systems, and if I go down storage, so I want to see the storage options, like what's going on with my storage. I can see 367 GB used already, only 109 GB free, and out of that my video files, I got 89 GB video. There are many other things, 51 GB, some temporary file is 37 GB. There's the apps and desktop, right? All these things I can see. If I see show more categories, I'll be able to see my mailbox, documents, maps, pictures, music, OneDrive. So all these um, all these stuffs I can see, and I can see the proper utilizations of my disk space. So this is a really good things we have in Windows 10. because when you communicate with customers, some people may have different issues. Somebody disk is not working, file system is not working, not sure how much space they have, but they want to create some new folder for different reason. So that time we need to find out all these informations. Now there's another thing called storage sense. This is a very good options. If you turn it on, and then what it will do, at first click on here. It's off at the moment. If you turn it on, it will save your space. For example, it will delete your temporary files or delete files in the download folder if they haven't been opened. Like last 30 days you didn't do anything with the download folder, so those files will be removed. In this way you can save space. Actually, I don't need this saying delete temporary recycle bin if they're for yeah, that's good options, but download folder I don't want to delete. That's fine. So in this way, and if you have a OneDrive, whether you want to have only online, content will become only online if not open for more than 30 days. So that means if you do not use the file, it will be available online. So this is the space you have, and if you tick on that one, delete previous versions of Windows. If you update and stuff, then maybe this is related with you. Other than that, you don't have to do anything. But simply storage sense, it will help you automatic deletion some of your files. For example, temporary files, or download folder some files you have, but you don't use that one, right? It will automatically delete those files. Or some recycle bin, some files is sitting there, is nothing happening, so it will remove from the recycle bin. So that is the advantage we have. So this is a very good options. Now another thing is a OneDrive. OneDrive is a cloud storage. So on with the OneDrive, see I have like couple of OneDrive locations. In the OneDrive I have many stubs. This is a OneDrive. Under OneDrive I have many different files and formats. This is like a storage. So if you put here, this things is actually automatically uploading to the cloud platform. Cloud means this is Microsoft platform. So if you'd like to use this one, simply you need to sign up with Microsoft account. And if you sign up, you'll get a 5 GB, but if you free 5 GB, but if you purchase, then maybe you can get up to 1 terabyte of disk. Okay, that's fine. All right, so that's a OneDrive. So this is the very good options we have. Now disk fragmentations, not needed on SSDs. Windows 10 auto detects disk types. Optimize will run trim on SSDs. Disk fragmentations can consist of both fragmented files and fragmented free space. So lead to poor performance of a disk subsystems. Default settings are usually sufficient. So fragmented disk, you can see that file A, file B, file C, again file A here, and then free space. But ideal disk space, you have a file A, file B, file C, and then free space, right? So fragmented means here and there, right? Something here, something there, is like a everywhere things. But ideal should be, everything organized properly. So that is the ideal disk state. So by default these days, these features it's enabled already. Especially with the SSD, you don't have to worry about this disk defragmentations. So if I go here, if I search for disk, see the fragment and optimize drives. If you simply type disk, sorry, DIS, and you can get these options. So once you open, we can see that drives are being analyzed on a scheduled cadence and optimized as. So it's already optimized properly. You don't have to make any changes with this. You can optimize your drive to help your computer more efficiently or analyze them to find out if they need to be optimized. Only drives on or connected to your computer are shown in here, right? Even the new hard disk, analyze 100% efficiency. Second one, if I analyze, all good. It's very SSD, because SSD is very fast. So that's why if you try to do something, it will give a result quickly. So in Windows 10, you don't have to do any changes in here. But if you have a Windows 7 machines or traditional hard disk, then these things is very important. So another thing we have called file and folder compressions. If you'd like to save some disk space, we can, compress the files and compress the folder. So how to do that? Let's say if I go to any of my files, this PC, maybe documents folder, maybe create some, folder, test1. So this test1 folder, under that I can create something. Sorry, open this one, right click, new text file, name test. So I have a folder name is test1, and if I'd like to compress this one, right click, go to properties, advanced, see the encrypt contents to secure data, and compress contents to save disk space. So sometimes, let's say if, you're running out of disk space, or any customer, something happened, they save something running out the disk space. So what is the options you have? This is the only options you have. You can compress the contents to save disk space. Click OK. OK. Apply changes to this folder, subfolders and files. Click OK. So how do you know this is compressed? See on the top there is a small sign over there. This one. This sign is saying that this folder is compressed. If you do not want, right click, again properties, advanced, untick this one and click OK. See, now is uncompressed. So this is another options we have related with our disk space. And what is a disk quota? Disk quota means you can restrict the quota limit. And this is one of the NTFS options. For example, I have disk 2, right click on that one, go to properties, there's a quota. So if you just use the computer by yourself, you don't need this one, okay? But let's say many different cases like reception computer or like shared computer, on that time you can put a quota. Show quota settings, enable quota management, limit disk space to, for example, you have a 5 GB disk, but you want to give them access up to 3 GB, and set warning to 2 GB. So that means this is a 5 GB disk, but if someone else using your computer, they can use maximum 3 GB from this disk, and if it is a 2 GB, then we'll get a event log notifications. So we can set up the disk space or disk quota in this way. Yeah, that's how disk space, you can manage the quota limit. How to do that? Right click, properties, and quota. You can manage from there. Now managing storage space. This is another options we have in Windows 10, even though it's mostly related with servers, but we're going to see how it works. Managing storage space, features of storage space, and some scenario we're going to look at. Storage space means if you have multiple storage device or multiple hard disk connected with your physical disk. So what can you do with that? Use storage space to add physical disk of any type and size to a storage pool, and then create highly available virtual disk from the storage pool. To create a storage space, you need the following: one or more physical disk, storage pool that includes the disk, storage space that is created within the disk from the storage pool, disk drives that are based on the storage space. So how it works, let's have a look. Let's say you have one disk, two disk, three disk, or maybe you have couple of disks, let's say two disk. This is 10 GB, this is 10 GB. So both of the physical disk you can connect together and you create a pool of 200 GB. Oh, sorry, 20 GB pool. From that pool, you can create virtual disk. Virtual disk of any size, such as maybe 2 GB, 5 GB, another 5 GB, 10 GB, something like that. This is the advantage we have. But in the local machines, rarely like you'll have multiple disks where you're going to configure these things. But this is mostly applicable for the servers, but we need to know how it functions, right? So we have a one physical disk, another physical disk, right? We have a two physical disk. These two we can combine together and create a pool. Pool means this is a total disk space we have. And from that 20 GB, we can create some other space like 2 GB, 5 GB, 5 GB, 10 GB, like that. Okay, that is the advantage with this storage space. But if you have only one disk, you don't need to think about this one, you can't do much with that. But some cases, if you have a multiple disk only on that time, this is very helpful. After that, you can create layout, storage layout, simple, two-way mirroring, three-way mirroring, parity. you have multiple options you can configure, and you can provision this one as a thin or fixed provisioning. Thin means it will take the space at needed basis, but fixed means it will take the fixed space. If you allocate 20 GB, it will take 20 GB. In our case, probably we'll be able to simulate these things, but in the Windows 10 sites, it's not that significant. So scenarios for storage space: thin provisioning scenario, easier storage growth, add disk when the needed arises, reliable storage scenario, fault tolerance, no data loss, and high performance scenarios. Parity resilience gives better performance with SSDs, usable for video editing and other high disk input output scenarios. It's saying, yeah, those kind of scenario you can use this storage space. So what is our storage space? Let's have a look. In here, if I go to storage, right, settings, storage, if I go down a bit, see there's a manage storage space. If I click here, then I can get this option, manage storage space, create a new pool of storage space. If I click here, this is the UAC prompt. Say yes. So I got like a couple of disk 2 and disk 3. Is saying the following drives might contain files. If you use a formatted disk drive with a storage pool, Windows permanently deletes all the files on that drive. You cannot recover the files by using the recycle bin. Okay, this is, remember, like we created the virtual hard disk today. I can use this too and create a pool. Name storage space, that's fine. Drive letter D, NTFS, two-way mirroring. Two-way mirroring means like a one, it will mirror to another one, like that. Oops, two-way mirroring is fine for me. Oops. Size, total pool capacity 8 GB. So 5 GB, 5 GB, it should be 10 GB, but systems, some of the space used by the system, so that's why I got 8.51 GB. Size, now available pool size is 8 GB. Okay, that's fine. Size maximum 2 GB, including resiliency 4 GB. Okay, so I can use.
So mirroring, so we can use both space, or we use one space and copying other space.
Only one space you'll be able to use.
So why we are creating mirroring for other space?
So when you create mirror 5 GB and 5 GB, and
Yep.
you can use only 5 GB, because those 5 GB it will be mirrored to another disk. Mirror means see the two-way mirroring. So because you have a two disk, so one disk can be mirrored to another disk. So if I
both disks can we can watch that, but we can't use both. We have
Correct.
to use one, but we can watch both.
Correct, yes. We can see both of them, but only one you'll be able to use.
Yeah.
Now, if I create like, let's say 4 GB, no, if I create a 2 GB, see, I need a 4 GB, because 2 GB will have a backup to another 2. If I create 3 GB, it's showing that it will take 6 GB. So total space you have a 8 GB, isn't it? But if
Yeah.
you create 3 GB, it will take 6 GB. If I create 1 GB, then it will take 2 GB. And if I creating now, cancel this one. Here I have a 1 GB another extra disk, space is D, and this is my total pool. I can create another storage space because I have used only 1 GB. So I can create, oh, this one got a bit of issues with the mouse. So let's say I want to create another 2 GB. Create. Understand? Now I have two. Added two drives. So this 1 GB, it has a backup another 1 GB. I created 2 GB, it has a backup another 2 GB. So that's how it functions. But as I said, like in the Windows 10 computers, in the client machines, this one is not extremely useful, but some scenario you may need this one. If you have a multiple disk, you can combine together. Let's go back to pictures. If you have a multiple disk, 2 disk, 3 disk, 4 disk, you can combine together and you can create a pool. Once you create a pool, from that pool, you'll be able to create individual disk such as 2 GB, 5 GB, like that, 10 GB, like that. So these are the informations we have in relations to our storage sections. So all these things we have looked at. You need to go through these topics, review the topics, do some practical things, and remember the steps as well. Right? All these things, they are very important when you configure these things.